Action News Network is an Aboriginal American media network. As such, we are protected under the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People, or DRIP, Articles 8, 14, and 16. Action News Network is allowed to provide Aboriginal news and media content on non-Indigenous media platforms free of oppressive censorship. Any breach of this protection is a breach of international law.
Feel like you're doing a great job, right? Is that what you're saying?
We're doing our level best in a very...
What does that mean? What does that mean when a child is sitting in their own feces? Can't take a shower? Come on, man. What's that about? None of us would have our children in that position. They are human beings. And I'm trying to figure out, and I get tired of folks saying, oh, they just beating up on the Border Patrol. Oh, they just beating up on Homeland Security. Now, what I'm saying is I want to concentrate on these children. And I want to make sure that they are okay. I will say it, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. It's not the deed that you do to a child, it's the memory. It's the memory. And so, I told the head of Border Patrol the other day, I said, I want to know what's happening in the meantime. We are the United States of America. We are the greatest country in the world. We are the ones that can go anywhere in the world and save people. Make sure that they have diapers. Make sure that they have toothbrushes. Make sure that they're not laying around defecating in some silver paper. Come on, we're better than that.
As an African American man in this country, 66 years old, moving towards the twilight of my life, we cannot allow black men to continue to be slaughtered. This morning, I woke up to my wife literally crying, watching the tape of this guy, Anton Sterling, in Baton Rouge, and then she looked at the one for Philandro Castle near Minneapolis. And I hope you watch them. There's something wrong with this picture. And don't get me wrong, I am all for, I've supported police, I am a lawyer. And I know how important police are, and I know there's so many great folks. But, Mr. Director, if you do nothing else in your 2,000 plus days left, you have got to help us get a hold of this issue. It is so painful. I can't even begin to tell you. And so I've been fortunate in my life. I've been very fortunate that I have not been harmed by the police, but I've been stopped 50 million times.
First of all, rest in peace to Elijah Cummings, and condolences to his family, irrespective of how it fell. He deserves that. With that said, Elijah Cummings, kind of a do-nothing congressman for the Washington District of Baltimore and Maryland, which Nancy Pelosi is from. So, and her family has ties to that area as mobsters and politicians. So he's just like her lapdog for that. I'm just gonna say it right here. His votes ain't really do shit for us as a people, or the people of Baltimore in general. He has a beautiful wife though, 20 years younger than him, and he used it as a come up. He's been in the Senate, in the Congress since the mid '90s. I'm just gonna say it right now. He used it as a come up, all right, and we're gonna let him tell his own life and his own votes. Okay, so here's Elijah Cummings and his own votes. As you will see,
hey yo, what up?
Really
Reaction
special.
Jack here looking at Elijah Cummings. He was a prominent congressman from Maryland, Baltimore, specifically west side of Baltimore. he's touted as a civil rights leader, but being 68 years old, only a little bit older than my own parents, these people were all kids in the 60s and 50s, so he wouldn't be a civil rights leader. He might have experienced, the civil rights era as a child, but not a civil rights era. You would have to be like 75 years old. It's like being a World War II vet and shit, you know what I'm saying? There's not too many of them left anymore. So we can't get confused by these people in their 60s who try to front like they were, on the front lines then, alright? So we're gonna check his voting records because your money is where your mouth is. So, as you know, he just died. Regardless of how I feel about him, rest in peace. As you can see, the last few bills he didn't vote on because he was in hospice care. I don't know, it's pretty selfish for you to be in hospice care, meaning that you're on your way out and you don't give up your seat. But they do that as a political ploy. John McCain did the same thing. So the last vote that he voted on was HR 1941, which was Coastal Marine Economies Protection Act, which was helping like coastal and like the Sea Islands and Long Island, them type of places in their economies and shit. As you can see, most of his voting record is going to be extremely liberal. He sponsored a bill to subpoena William Barr, who's Attorney General, just like Trump shit. Anything that Nancy Pelosi wants, who by the way was born and raised in Baltimore. A lot of people just know her for San Francisco. I don't know why we do this in New York a lot too. We end up electing mayors and leaders who are not from the city that they in. A lot of people, they move cross country and shit like that to like destroy other fucking cities, and that's what Nancy Pelosi did. Her father, brother, whatever, were like, her father was like a gangster, mob gangster in Baltimore. Her brother took the gangster mentality and turned it into politics, which a lot of these ethnic white immigrants do, especially the Italians and stuff. And then she went across country to California, which would embrace her as a carpetbagger, and now she's the most powerful person in the fucking country. I would say she's more powerful than the goddamn president. He has way less power than Nancy Pelosi, and that's all because of her corruption and what she has over everybody. And Elijah Cummings is definitely one of those people. Again, he voted with a bill to condemn Trump's racist tweets at the squad and shit. It's like two of them. He co-sponsored one of them. But I'm not really. I'm excuse me. I'm interested in not just what he votes yeah on, because it's all going to be anything that's really liberal. I'm interested in what he co-sponsors and what he votes nay on, and some of the votes that he did not vote for, because do not voting is a nay without you actually saying nay. You know what I'm saying? Took the day off or just decided not to vote. They could do that type of shit. He co-sponsored the humanitarian standards, individuals, custom border, some more immigrant caping. Not even immigrant caping, but illegal caping. Again, the Border Protection and Custody Act. Enforce subpoenas, yada yada, right? So one thing that he did not vote on was the Mashpee Wampanoag Tribe Reservation and Reaffirmation Bill. So I wanted to look into that, right? And then another one we're gonna look at is Protecting Americans Pre-Existing Conditions Act, right? So these are votes that he didn't vote on, which means that he voted nay on them, but didn't want to be going down as voting nay on it, so he didn't give their vote, which allows them to let history take its course. We're gonna look at his voting records, civil liberty. Of course, with the Israel shit, he's a caper for Israel. So, and there was somebody brought up delegitimizing the state of Israel, which means the United States not recognizing them anymore. Israel is basically doing what the United States did when they came here to our ancestors. They come here, pretend to be the people that are here, and shit like that, and remove all rights from the other people who are here, enslave them, or put them into a marginalized society. I'm sorry, I know how we all, hate to talk about these people or whatever and shit, but it is what it is. It's on record, and we know what it is. So YouTube, you cannot fucking stop my video out because I'm telling facts. Not even my opinion, that's just facts, alright? Of course, he voted yay with the anti-Semitism, hateful expressions and shit. Normal, shit. You're not going to alienate the Jewish population, right? No matter how you fucking feel. There's Muslims in office who do the same shit. He did not vote on a joint resolution providing congressional disapproval under Chapter 8 of Section 5, all of that shit. But we're gonna look at one of the things. So 2018, he voted nay on it. This was a vote to pass a bill that authorized terminally ill patients to use non-FDA approved drugs after exhausting all approved treatment options, right? Which means they would be able to get drugs from Canada, Europe, whatever, or try treatments in other places and have their insurance pay for it and shit, basically, right? So of course, being the corporate puppet that he is, I'm pretty sure he got pharmaceutical money under his belt. He voted no on that, even though, you know, people in Baltimore probably would fucking benefit off of that. So here we go again. This guy is supposed to be representing Baltimore, representing the people in there who a lot of them have health problems and shit and do not get the best care. If they had access to cheap care from Mexico or some shit that might, you know, help them, he voted no against that. Just know that. So again, vote nay on Social Security related to information of the national, whatever the NICS, sound like one of them cop shows or some shit. Like I said, a lot of this is just like, you know, just boring shit. I ain't gonna lie. There's some liberal nays in here. Patriot extension, you know, I would expect that kind of vote, you know. So we look at employment affirmative action. Elijah Cummings. That he did not vote. He does not like to vote on anything that has anything to do with veterans. Like, he hates veterans for some reason. Anything like this Department of Veteran Affairs Accountability Whistleblowers Protection Act, which was supposed to like a couple of years ago, we had a lot of shit going on in the VA and stuff like that. They still having a lot of problems now, I can tell you that as a veteran. But they was wanting to do more accountability and fire a lot of these people, because when you get in these government positions, it's very hard to fire you for you know, incompetence and shit. But of course, you know, a lot of times when it comes to like passing the buck or holding the standard of red tape, you know, cleanups, he's not going to vote for that, because then that will look into him. He votes nay on the VA Accountability Act. So like I said, this guy like hates fucking anything that was to better the VA and better veterans, he does not vote on, or he votes nay on. Just know that. He also didn't vote on an anti-border corruption reauthorization act. Alright, so anything about the border too. So here we go to VA Accountability Act 2017. It was a vote to pass a bill that authorized the Department of VA Veteran Affairs to quickly fire, demote, or suspend VA employees. Alright, so he does not vote for this type of shit or votes nay on it. We're gonna keep continuing. And nay on stop government abuse, you know, because, you know, again, that might fall back to bite him in the ass. Save American Workers Act and stuff like that. That was a vote. Let me see if I got it in here. But it's a vote that to stop companies from using illegal immigrants over American workers, which would help the people of Baltimore a lot. But, you know, again, he votes nay on that type of shit. Working Families Flexibility Act is supposed to be giving more paid days off to working families, you know, votes nay on that. Something that would help, you know, all them single mothers out there working 2 jobs in Baltimore. But he votes nay against that shit. The death, estate, and minimum wage bill, he voted no on. It was supposed to raise the minimum wage at that time in 2006 to $7 an hour and shit, when it was like 5 something an hour. I remember working back then. And, you know, to something with the death and estate tax, they wanted to lower it and shit. Of course not, because he makes a lot of money off all the deaths that happen in Baltimore and shit, and he gets his cut off of that shit. So of course he's not going to vote for that. Small business health fairness, down here he voted nay for, and the pension reform bill. But with the small business health fairness that he voted no on, that was a bill to help small businesses. This is back in 2004, to help small businesses provide affordable health care to their people. So of course something that help people in Baltimore, voted no on. He did a minimum wage increase bill, which put the national minimum wage up to like $5.75. They raised it by like 50 cents at the time. But when they wanted to go to $7 an hour, he said no, that's too much for the people in 2004, right? So that bill I told you about, hold on, let me go back. right, to save, I think it's this one right here. I can't find it. Save American Workers Act. This is what this talks about right here. The vote to pass a bill increase the number of temporary visas granted to highly skilled immigrant workers, increases the maximum number of visas for skilled workers so it increases penalties for companies that have replaced American workers with immigrants. So this is what Elijah Cummings is passionate about voting nay for. All right. Fair Labor Standards Act, he votes nay on. Fair Labor Standards Act, all of that type of shit. So we're gonna look at, he did not vote on the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe, and he didn't vote on the Tribal Labor Sovereignty Act of 2015. The Tribal Labor Sovereignty Act 2015 votes to pass a bill that exempts Native American business from certain labor provisions. So here's a Native American or an American Aboriginal, Elijah Cummings, who is stopping tribes like the Wampanoag and others from being exempt from certain labor law, taxes, and provisions and shit like that. All right, these people should be able to do whatever the fuck they want to fucking do. But of course, passing a buck, the African American from Baltimore, who's really a fucking American Aboriginal, is touting the standard. Just know that. Native American Energy Act was another one that he voted nay on. 2015, a bill that reduces the regulations for the development of energy on Native American lands. Meaning, if the state wants to build a power plant or some type, or use the resources to provide energy on the Indian land, they have no recourse or remedy to prevent that from happening. Tribal law enforcement amendments, he was a yay on, which means, and we're going to see what that means right here. 2010 tribal law enforcement amendments, a vote to concur with the Senate amendments and pass a bill to expand the authority of tribal courts and expand federal participation in the enforcement and prosecution of violations of federal lands in Indian country, meaning all land within the limits of Indian reservation and dependent Indian communities and Indian allotments. Which means that, if Indian is being or an Aboriginal who's on reservation is accused of a crime and shit, he can't be protected on his land and shit. Whether he committed the crime or not. You know what I'm saying? That's just a problem with the state or whatever. But instead of going through with the tribe, and allow them to deal with him, and either they want to extradite him or whatever. No, they saying that, they don't have the right to say that shit anymore, and they can just come in and do anything, right? So, restricted Indian gamins and homelands of tribes act, you go nay on. All right. Tax relief extension bill, whatever. You look at crime, which affects black folks, right? He voted nay on the Immigration Law Enforcement Act 2006, and what that says, as you see, it was voted in 2007. He voted yay on that, right? So, he voted yay on the Crimes Prevention Act, right? So we gonna see what Hate Crimes Prevention Act, and then he voted no on law enforcement for immigrations, but he voted yay for the Law Enforcement Hate Crimes Act, which sounds like it would be protecting black people, right? But then we look at it, right? 2007, it is voted to pass a bill that amends federal definition of a hate crime, include gender and identity, sexual orientation. So what that means is that this dude is all for, you'll see this in the vote rate too. Anything the gays want, anything the Jews want, anything the illegal immigrants want, he'll vote. But when it comes to shit down, because there's no caucus or anything that's really fighting to put black agenda out there. So you gotta look at the crime and the civil rights kind of things, and that's how he gets away with this. Because then it's very hard for the average person to see anything. Because it's not saying, this vote will help black people when you vote nay on. No, you gotta know what bills it is. So here's a big vote for the gays. He voted nay on the Immigration Law Enforcement Act, which would have been a bill to vote, pass a bill that grants state and local officials inherent authority to investigate, identify, apprehend, arrest, detain, and transfer and document immigrants. So you got all these black people being killed and shit all over the country and shit, and he doesn't sponsor a bill for police reform and shit, or for stricter penalties for these guys, but he votes to make sure that gays, if I call somebody a faggot, that I go to jail for a long time for that. Somebody calls me a nigga, it doesn't fucking matter. My video could get flagged for using that word, but if I use the nigga word or goddamn day, nigga, nobody gives a fuck, right? Thank you guys, like Elijah Cummings. Save American Workers, again, nay. A lot of this is just repeating itself as I go through. Prohibits the use of funds for discrimination based on sexual orientation agenda. You voted yay on that shit. Of course, right? So, as you can see, when it comes to the gays, sexual orientation and shit like that, you won't see a nay on it. Unless it's a bill repressing them. But anything that they ask, don't ask, tell, all this other shit, yeah. That's the most yays you're gonna see on this shit. Again, unless it's something that's pushing back against their agenda when they encroach it a little too far. For unemployment, low income, okay, these are other bills that would affect people in Baltimore who look like him the most. He voted no to supplement nutrition programs for WIC. So he voted no to expand WIC, all right, which is crazy considering the district that he's in. So here's another bill that affects mostly young poor couples, but mostly single black women and shit like that. He votes nay against that. All right. Agricultural reform, he votes nay on. Welfare work, okay, I can understand as a liberal why he would have voted that shit, right? Preserving work requirements for the welfare, again, another liberal, vanguard vote, I expect that. Red tape reduction and Small Business Job Creation Act. Of course, Elijah Cummings would vote nay on that because, most small businesses now are being created by young black entrepreneurs, and, of course, he would stop that shit, right? Here goes some more GI Bill shit, expansion of other domestic provisions, voted nay on that shit. Again, Elijah Cummings hates fucking veterans. Welfare reform bill, that's the one that I can see being done. It depends, I haven't read through the whole bill. A lot of this shit is too much to read through. Child Nutrition Improvement Integrity Act, okay. So voucher bill, which would help a lot of them charter schools, to kind of ease a lot of the overcrowding in schools in the cities like DC and shit like that. He voted nay on that because liberals hate charter schools because they want 50 people in one class, 50 kids in one classroom, so they can all become dumb factory workers and shit. But if you want a couple of schools to reduce some class numbers down and shit, they do everything possible to make sure they don't get funding and shit. And you gotta ask yourself this: why do these liberals always fucking do this shit? A lot of these charter schools, they look horrible all over the place because they don't get the funding and shit from the government that they're supposed to get because the liberals tie them up. All right. Food stamp recipient amendment. I think that bill was to create some amount of food stamps or some shit, or he voted nay against. More welfare reform. I could understand that. Right. So this is his voting record.